What's going on, everyone? In this video today, we're going to go line by line through our meet expenses for our latest Boynton Barbell Center Championship that happened this past weekend so that you know when you enter a competition where your money goes. So let's get right into this video. Alrighty, what's going on, my powerlifting people? Thank you for tuning in to another video and checking out my channel. If you are new here to this channel and you haven't seen my videos, you don't know who I am. My name is Aaron Kamesi. I'm a powerlifting coach, meet director, athlete, and referee. So I make videos here on this channel for those groups of people. You may or may not know, but we ran our 2021 USA Powerlifting Boynton Barbell Center Championship this past weekend. We had about 26 lifters on Saturday and 33 lifters on Sunday. And if you follow me on Instagram, you know I've done posts like this before where I do like a little breakdown of where the expenses are for the meet, how much revenue we had, so you can kind of see where your money goes and how much money someone like me makes for a local competition. So since we just finished this meet, I'm finalizing most of our expenses. I paid off pretty much everything. Just a couple of last things I have to do before I'm finally done with the event. I figured I'd put a video together and let's go over some of the top expenses that we had for this competition. So again, you can see where your money is going as an athlete. In addition, if you are a meet director, you can kind of compare my expenses to yours to see what it's like and see if maybe that's just a difference between the location or maybe something that you can improve upon. And if you have any questions about how I got my expenses at where they're at, you can always talk to me about it. Or if you're someone who's looking into running competitions, then this may be a good video to see what the expenses are like, to see if it's in line with what you're expecting or above or below. And maybe you don't want to run competitions once you see some of the expenses that are involved with running a powerlifting competition for USA Powerlifting. All right, and with that, just to notice, this is for a USA Powerlifting local competition, and this is in 2021. So different federations may have some expenses that are different, like a sanction fee. They also may have some different expenses as far as what kind of revenue you get. Like for an IPF championship, you're only going to get a portion of the entry fee versus the USA Powerlifting event. And this may change over time. Expenses may have been different 10, 20 years ago, and expenses may be different going forward. And before I get into the very first expense, I just wanted to go over what is not in here. And some of the things that are not in here is because this is a gym that we're running the competition at, a gym that my buddy owns and that I help him out with, that helped him start it up back in 2013. So we don't pay a venue fee for this event. We don't pay any kind of storage fees for the equipment. We don't have to pay any kind of U-Haul or transportation of the equipment because all the equipment is already there. So right off the bat, that saves us a lot of money that we're not paying for a venue or U-Haul or storage or anything like that. As depending on location, sometimes that itself could cost $500 to $1,000 per day. So depending on how many days your event is, you may be paying a couple $1,000s just for the venue. And in the case of this event, we also had no hotel fees. So in previous events that we've run both here in Florida and also in New York, we've had to get hotel rooms for some volunteers that are coming from out of town. But for this case, we were able to run the competition with all local people that were driving distance. And I ended up staying in Chris's house in his spare room. So we didn't have to spend any money on hotel rooms, which again, that saved us several $100s right there. And the last thing is we didn't have any Gino expenses. Originally, Gino was going to come and announce the competition. So, you know, a couple $100 for a plane ticket, a couple $100 for hotel room, plus, you know, Uber, food, that kinds of stuff. But because of the increasing of cases from the pandemic, everything in Florida and other states, he decided he's not going to go to any competitions in January and February. So we knocked that expense off of our sheet and I ended up announcing most of the competition. All right, now on to the expenses. This is what you guys have been waiting for. So I don't know if I want to do this chronologically so you guys can see basically from when you first want to plan a competition, you have to pay the sanction fee and then go from there all the way to afterwards, you pay the drug testing after the competition. But then I changed my mind. I figured you guys probably want to see the big expenses. So I'm going to start with the most expensive stuff and I'm going to work my way down to some of the less expensive stuff. And some of the things that are very, very cheap, we'll just leave it out just because of the time of this video. I don't want to go into every single little detailed expense. So the number one biggest expense for this meet is me. And yes, I do try to make money off the competition that I run. After all, it is a business and USA Powerlifting sets it up for meet directors that they can run it as a business and they take on the risk for how much money they want to make or how much money they want to lose. So for all the effort I put, all the time I put into putting, you know, the entry form together, sending out all the emails, running the competition, doing an announcing, the drug testing, so as a referee, I help set up, I help break down, I bring some of my own personal equipment, like I brought my own laptops, phone, music, wires, all that kinds of stuff. So I want to be compensated for my time and effort. So the latest way we set up for our competitions is the standard price, let's say for full power, is $100. If you're doing, you know, push pull or bench only, you add an extra division or t-shirts can be different, but let's go off of that standard $100 for now. From that $100, I take $30 right off the top for myself. So $30 per lifter or per entry, however you want to think about it, goes to me to cover me for all this work I do and all the stuff I bring, and, just like, wear and tear on the car, gas, tolls, and of course I do have to pay taxes on this afterwards for the profit that I made. So we originally had 66 lifters enter this competition. I take $30 from each of those, so I make $1,980 from running this 2-day competition. All right, the second biggest expense is going to be the t-shirts. Okay, so for the t-shirts, we try and get like a better quality t-shirt. We try and do multiple colors, front and back and everything like that, so that adds up. So the t-shirts come out to about $10 per shirt. So we had about 30 lifters pre-order a shirt. We also had t-shirts that we bought for our sponsors, for the volunteers, some extra ones to sell, that kinds of stuff. So we ended up buying 60 t-shirts at about $10 each. So it came out to about $598, but we can call it $600 for t-shirts. When you divide that by the number of lifters, the 66 lifters that we had, it comes out to about $9 per lifter that is going for t-shirt expenses. All right, the third biggest expense is going to be the drug testing. That's right, in USA Powerlifting, we do drug testing, and you have to do a minimum of 10% of your lifters that you have to drug test. So we end up having 59 lifters compete, so we had to do 6 drug tests. The drug test costs about $82.40 per drug test, so it came out to $494 in drug testing. And when you divide that by the 66 lifters that originally entered, that's about $7.50 per lifter that is going towards the drug testing. Now, if you do everything correctly, you submit the drug test on time and everything, all the paperwork is in place and everything like that, USA Powerlifting will reimburse the meet director a portion of that. I forget off the top of my head how much that is, 15 or 20% reimbursement. And if you are a first-time meet director, it might be a little bit more, 20 or 25% of that money, that $495, they'll return to you if you do everything correctly. But for now, I just put in the expense in there without that reimbursement, just so you can see what the initial expenses are. Our fourth big expense is going to be our volunteers, and more specifically, it's going to be our spotters. That's right, I do try and pay our volunteers across the board, whether you are a spotter, referee, scorer, announcer, anything like that. I try and pay you about $10 per hour, plus the food, the drinks, and if you have to stay in a hotel room. So we cover some of those expenses plus the $10 per hour. So for our spotters for 2 days, it came out to $440. When we divide it by the 66 entries, it comes out to about $6.67 per entry goes towards our spotters and loaders. All right, and our fifth big expense is going to be our referees. Yes, I do pay our referees as well. So that's going to be $355 that we spent on our referees for the 2 days, and it comes out to about $5.38 per lifter. So just a quick review of the top 5 expenses so we can kind of get an idea of how much it is in total. The top 5 are going to be me, the meet director, the shirts, the drug tests, the spotters, and the referees. And those 5 combined come out to about $58, $59 per entry is going towards those top 5 expenses. So if you're paying a $100 entry fee for our competition, then about $58 to $59 of that $100 is automatically getting lost into those top 5 expenses: volunteers, meet director, drug testing, and t-shirts. So that kind of gives you an idea where the majority of your money is going towards when you enter a local competition, and actually maybe a bigger percentage for another meet director that has to pay for a venue, may have to pay for the announcer, hotel rooms, that kinds of stuff. All right, so we'll continue on with the expenses and we'll go over to some of the smaller expenses. Number 6 is going to be refunds. So since we are dealing with this pandemic still, and some of the other meets within Florida and other states have been postponed or canceled, moved around last year and this year, and I know some lifters always want their money back, I said, okay, when we enter our entry form, up till December 1st, I will offer anyone a refund, no questions asked, so they can get out of the competition if something happens, if they test positive or injured, they just don't want to do the competition. But once December 1st hits and we're about 4 or 5 weeks out from the competition and I need to start purchasing everything, then we're not going to do any more refunds. So before that day, we actually had 3 lifters that asked for a refund. We refunded them. And so since I put in the 66 entries or 66 lifters with those original revenue that came in, there was 3 refunds that went out. So that brings you down to the 63. But basically that refund was about $320, which comes out to about $4.85 per lifter that went towards the refunds for this particular championship. All right, moving to the 7th big expense, it happened to be the referee light system. We normally use a wired system, a little metal box with the light switches, but an opportunity came up to get the Dobbins referee light system, which is the good electronic light system with the wireless remotes and everything like that. There was a meet director that was getting rid of theirs for $100. There's also some some improvements that had to be made, some parts that had to be changed. So I ended up paying the meet director $100 and then paying Scott Dobbins about $165 to make those improvements. And they were temporary improvements because he had to get it done quickly for our competition. So now I have to send it back to him for him to do the finalizing of the, basically to make the system brand new and ship it back to me. So there'll be some extra expenses there. But for now, that is $265 that we use for that system, which is about $4 per lifter. And while $265 may sound a lot, the system brand new to get from Scott has cost anywhere from $700 to $900 depending on when you got it, because over the years he's made more and more improvements to it, added new features to it, and he's made it more expensive. So anywhere between $700 and $900 is what a typical meet director is paying for those wireless referee light systems that you see. I just happen to be lucky to get off of a meet director for cheap for you, so it cost me $265 with the shipping and stuff that I have to still do to get it finalized. Maybe it'll be like, $300, $325, so still less than 50% of what other meet directors are paying. So kind of got lucky with that. Our eighth big expense is going to be the credit card fee. So anytime you do a credit card swipe basically on Stripe or PayPal or some other system, they're going to charge you a percentage, between 2 and 3% to charge that credit card for your entry fee or whatever else you're spending it on. So just because you're paying a $100 entry fee for a competition does not mean that me, the meet director, gets $100. Off the top line of $100, PayPal, Stripe, or whoever else is getting their percentage. So that was about $232 in credit card fees, or about $3.50 per entry. Our ninth big expense is going to be the best lifter trophies. We typically just do 2 best lifter trophies, one for the raw female full power and one for the raw male full power, since those are the events that the vast majority of our entries compete in. And in this case, they cost $160 for them combined. We spend anywhere between $50 to $80 per trophy, depending on the year, depending on what we see, what kind of design we like to use, kind of like to switch it up. And it costs money for the little engraving plate to put basically the name of the competition, the logo, and have it say champion of champions or best lifter. So that came out to about $2.43 per entry. All right, and our 10th big expense, this is a little bit lower on the list this time because we did some cost cutting in this, and that is the medals. Normally our medals cost more money, and sometimes I've done bigger ones that cost even more, but this time I went with a regular size that you might see at a local meet, smaller than what we used last year, and basically save some money there because basically we have higher expenses due to the pandemic with stuff we have to spend on, like, mask and hand sanitizer and different cleaning supplies. And basically we're trying to cut down some of our expenses this year to make sure that we can basically have a good competition, but also not fall into the whole running the competition during a pandemic. So anyone who's been around the sport of powerlifting, you know that there's going to be a lot of medals given out during the award ceremony, lots of gold medals, lots of lifters competing basically against themselves. So we have to get a lot of medals for this competition. So even though the medals saved us compared to previous years, especially since we had less entries this year than previous years, it still came out to about $150 in medals, which is about $2.27 per lifter. So now when we take the top 10 expenses, we sum up how much it is, that comes out to about $75 per entry goes towards those top 10 expenses for this competition, and oftentimes it is the same for other competitions. So again, you can see if you enter $100 for a competition, about 75% or $75 of that is automatically going to these top 10 expenses. From there are a lot of smaller expenses. I won't go into all the numbers and all the details for it because I don't want to make this video too long. Some of the other expenses include, paying the scoring manager, paying the expediter, paying the admission table, paying for the sanction fee, paying for the logo design. In this case, we also have to get, the masks for the volunteers, hand sanitizer, disinfecting wipes for the bar and equipment. Since we do the registration through Lifting Cast and we have it live, you also have to pay 75 cents per lifter for Lifting Cast to use it online. We also got food for our volunteers. We also have, paperwork we have to print out, wristbands that we have to get, and other miscellaneous things like that. When you add up all those additional expenses, then that bumps up that $75 per entry that's going towards the top 10, bumps up to about $84, $85 per entry is going towards the vast majority of the expenses. So you can see the top 10 are about 75%, whereas the rest of the expenses are maybe just another 10% that you're adding on top. Now, there are other hidden expenses that I don't don't have a listing here, and some are just, you know, small recurring expenses. Like I said, I have to drive up from Miami up to Boynton Beach and back. So, you know, the gas, the tolls, the oil, and just wear and tear on my car. Those are expenses that basically we don't really calculate and just goes towards, you know, the money that I'm getting paid. I slowly just pay off of those expenses over time. In addition, the gym itself, the gym equipment, the rack, the bar, the weights, the platforms, everything like that kind of wears and tears over time. And so over the years, we have to, you know, buy new racks, buy new bars, buy new carpet, that kinds of stuff. So again, those are expenses that don't go into the budget for each specific year. They're just, you know, every few years those things have to get updated. So it kind of gets, you know, amortized or dispersed throughout the years. And like I said earlier, you always have to pay taxes. So whatever income I make off of this, with the 1980, whatever expenses I knock off of it for my car and everything like that, whatever's left over at the end, you still have to report that as income and you still have to pay taxes on that. So from that 1980, it kind of bumps down further to, let's say, maybe 1,500 or less that I'm actually making off of this competition. In addition, the reason why I run these competitions in the gyms, whether it's in Boynton Barbell down here in Boynton Beach, whether it's S&S Barbell up in New York City, I've also helped out Capital City Barbell up in Tallahassee, is because I give a portion of the money to the gyms so that they can then invest in their gyms, they can buy more equipment, everything like that. And a lot of the people competing in the competition are also members of the gym. So they get to compete in a USA Powerlifting competition, and then also then they get new equipment for their gym. So it's kind of a win-win for them. So while I'm getting that 1980 minus whatever my expenses and taxes and stuff are, the gym itself is also gonna get about $1,500 that's left over after all the expenses. And then again, the $1,500, they're gonna have to pay for some expenses, you know, like cleaning up the gym, trash, paper towels, all that kind of stuff. Maybe some lost income from having to close down the gym from Friday night till Sunday night. And also they have to then pay the taxes too. So who knows how much they get left with, $1,200 or $1,000, and maybe I get left with $1,500. So that gives you a little bit insight into the expenses and how basically it's kind of top heavy, with the top 10 expenses being about 75% of your entry fee is going towards the expenses, and then all these little expenses you'll have to stay on top of. And then these things change depending on the competition. Like I said, having to pay for a venue, U-Haul, hotel rooms, paying for Gino to come announce, that kinds of stuff. But I always like being as transparent as possible for you guys so you can see what we did for this actual meet. But if you have any questions or comments about my competition or other competitions, you can always leave those in the comments below, and I always answer all my comments. In addition, like I said, if you're looking to be meet director, you got questions about how to run a USA Powerlifting meet, or you want me to come to your gym, if you already have the gym and you have the equipment, you want me to help you out run a competition, again, you can comment those below, or you can also look at my email and my social media down in the description below. You can always contact me privately through email. For all these other gyms that I've helped out over the years in these different cities and states, I've done it for cheaper, either $15 per entry or even $0 for entry, as long as they cover my expenses, because I'm always trying to help out new meet directors, letting the powerlifting gyms continue to grow across the country, and also help run more USA Powerlifting competitions anywhere in the country. So let me know if you want to get involved. And if you are a lifter but you never competed in USA Powerlifting before and you want to know how to get involved in USA Powerlifting, I'll have a video, maybe put it up somewhere over here, where you can see how you can find USA Powerlifting competitions in your area, how to sign up for it and everything like that, so you can compete in the sport of powerlifting. But other than that, I hope you guys are having a good new year and a good week, and I'll see you guys in that next video.